Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Real Organic Project is a farmer-led movement that provides an add-on certification held by over 1,000 certified organic, family-owned operations across North America. Real Organic Project strives to uplift farms working within the spirit, not just the letter, of organic principles. Real Organic certified farmers use practices that are centered around the foundational organic principles of soil-based crop production and pasture-based livestock agriculture. To remain accessible to all types of farmers, Real Organic Project fundraises year-round to keep this certification available at no cost to farmers. You can apply today at realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. That is realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. The current application season ends soon, so be sure to apply today. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with yet another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. And today, my guest is Stephen and Christine Bailey, who run the Kindred Farm on 17 acres in Santa Fe, Tennessee, where they raise vibrant produce, flowers, and bees in a sustainable way that heals the land. Christine is an author and podcaster, and Stephen is a chef, and they believe life is meant to be shared in community. From hosting long farm table dinners under the stars to offering cooking classes and handmade artisan goods in their farm store, they are always working to provide a place where people can come to be nourished and find connection in the land, in community, and around the table. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're glad to be here.
So give us a little bit of background of how did you both get started farming?
So we started a CSA cooperative back in 2009 in Dallas, Texas. So we were kind of one of the first movers to bring local organic foods to the Dallas Metroplex. We started with kind of a CSA model, and that started with like 19 families back in 2009. And that slowly grew from a little parking lot out of the, trunk of a Volkswagen Rabbit till we had 2,300 families all over the Metroplex picking up at different drop locations. And we worked with about 40 farmers in Texas. And by the time we got to about 2015, we had a little organic market and restaurant. We had a little urban farm on a little 1/4-acre plot right there near downtown Dallas. Mm-hmm. And so we were on that side of the whole farming world. And in 2015, we sold that entire company and business, and we moved to the Nashville area. So we found our farm at the end of 2016, December 16. And we found the 17 acres and decided we were going to grow organically and take inspiration from all the different farmers we worked with. One of my big mentors was Joel Salatin. We would do conferences together, and we did a bunch of stuff when we were back in Dallas, and all that inspiration the farmers gave us, we just took all that energy and all that knowledge and we put it into our own farm. So that was, so 2017 was our first season to farm and figure the whole thing out. And here we are going into, I guess this is our seventh season.
Seventh season. We plowed up our field. When we moved here, it was just a house and that's it. So a 1949 farmhouse and then a big open blank field. So we plowed it up on the first day of spring 2017 and just started from scratch. And we ended up building a barn and adding some high tunnel hoop houses and just kind of expanding year by year.
Very cool. All right. So you have the farm has got a couple different enterprises. So why don't you walk us through kind of like just an overview of like what's going on now, because you do a lot of classes and a bunch of things.
Yeah, I would say we've kind of gone through maybe 3 iterations. We're in the 3rd iteration. The first iteration was, we got to break ground. We don't even know what we're doing. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's like trying to, it's all the struggles of how do we do irrigation and what are we going to even try and do? And then the second kind of phase was, okay, we're going to try and, we followed Ray's method for lettuce and a 40A and the BCS tractor. And so we got into doing farmers markets and selling to restaurants and grocery stores. So we did that for a minute. And then as we started to dial it in, by the time we got to about 2019, we just realized that our gifts were in hospitality and bringing people to the farm to experience things. And so we really just dialed in that we love to farm and grow food that goes directly into the dinners and the events we have, plus the farm store and making goods for people. We kind of had that aha moment when we grew about 400 or 500 pounds of heirloom tomatoes, trying to sell it for $6 a pound, and we sold about 30 pounds of it, and then we turned the rest of it into really expensive tomato jam and sold out. And so that's when we said, you know what, this is really what we're good at and what we love and know. We know how to cook, we know how to create experiences, and so let's bring people to the farm and give them that experience. So we're in that third iteration of really dialing in like who we are as farmers and what we're trying to do here at Kindred.
All right. So Stephen, you were a chef before you started back in a former life?
Yep, I was a private chef back in Dallas, and then that became, when we had Urban Acres, that became a restaurant, and I did farm to table restaurant consulting in Dallas. And then when we came here, our intention was to farm, and then I accidentally got back into chefing, and now that's a big thing I do. I do private events and big farm to table dinners all over Middle Tennessee.
Very cool. All right. So then you have a farm store. I'm running down through your Facebook and trying to find pictures of it.
Yeah, you can. It's on Instagram if you go to the Kindred Farm Store hashtag. We have a lot of photos on there. But yeah, we started the farm store, I think it was spring 2018, after we did kind of that first farming season. And, it's a lot of work going to farmers markets. And Stephen, we had 2 small children, and Stephen would be gone for like 8 or 9 hours a day. And you didn't have a ton to show for it at the end. But what's really neat about that first season and plugging into local farmers markets is we started to build our audience, and we started to build a customer base. And we also started to see what people loved that we grew. But what we decided was, by bringing the farm store to our land, that we could really cultivate that heart that we have behind everything we do here at Kindred, which is creating special experiences for people and helping them to come and experience the land. And then it's a lot less time commitment, and we can really pour into the people that are coming here and have, really great conversations with them. Like, it's really like a gathering place for the community, and we love that. And we just do it every Saturday morning throughout the growing season. And then the off season, we're open once a month just to keep that touch point with the community. But it's like a beautiful, beautiful thing. Every time we're open, it's just amazing because of the conversations that happen between other customers, and that we get to, just like really pour into the diversity of the community. And we love just bringing people out here. And it's a great way to bring together the farming with the communal aspect of Kindred.
So the store is a little shed, and you set up inside and outside, it looks like.
Well, we started setting up inside, but it grew so much that only a few people could fit in there at a time. It was a little kind of this like cedar cabin that we had on our property. And then, 2020 happened, and everything kind of moved to outdoors. And we started setting up just on tables on this little kind of concrete pad that we have outside under some beautiful trees on our land. And we loved it. And we realized it actually felt just so much more welcoming and open, and like kids could run around. We have some tree swings, and we have this little area called the Forest of Fun on our property where kids can play. And so, I don't know, a little campfire area. It just felt so much better doing it out in the open. So that's what we do now. And, if it rains on a Saturday, then we'll have a tent, but we still do it outside at this point. And we love that.
All right. So you mentioned, I think you set up some forest. Mention that again. About the kids' forest?
Yeah, we have a little area. We call it the Forest of Fun.
Okay. Forest of Fun. All right. That's what it is.
And it's great. Our girls, we have 2 daughters that are now 9 and 12, but they still love playing there. But there's just tall pine trees. There's a creek. And we have a bunch of tree swings, and it's just a fun area for kids to go to when they come to the farm. So.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I want to build either a willow like house for the kids, or we just put in a bunch of bamboo. Unfortunately, we put it in as a hedgerow and not like a circle, because we did a circle, then it would turn into a little grove for the kids to play in. But that is so key, because one of the things is if you can keep the kids happy, the parents stay longer and spend more money.
That is very, very true. And we do these really awesome cinnamon rolls every single Saturday at the farm store. And Stephen developed that recipe way back in Dallas at our farmstead there, and has kind of been perfecting that recipe over the last many years. We also do our perfect granola. There's a couple products that are staple products that we have that we've done for like over 10 years. But the cinnamon rolls are always like, kids love those. So that's always a big selling point.
And you guys have a certified kitchen, it looks like.
Yep. And then we're about to enter what we would consider, I guess, our fourth phase of the farm, where we're trying to build a bigger barn with a newer, better commercial kitchen and more space for classes and the farm store and events and that kind of stuff.
Very cool. So because we started our farm store in 2021, 2022, we had an old transit bus, and now we're actually finishing out a 660 square foot retail store.
Nice.
So awesome.
And we'll be doing, as soon as they finish that, they're going to turn around and just start in the certified kitchen.
Very cool.
So it's been, the last 2 months have been just nuts.
Yeah, we get that.
We know that feeling.
Yes. So I see you're also growing some like hot peppers for sriracha. So you guys doing the whole range of things, which, I think there's a couple different styles of farms out there. And so like Marth Trubia's farm was that, production farm. I mean, we produced 100 tons of winter production roots, carrots and beets and potatoes and stuff, and they went into storage. But now our farm has switched way more to classes and prepared foods. And that looks like what a lot of what you're doing is, you're doing the flowers, prepared foods, and education, because I think more now than ever, people need to learn where their food comes from and how they can get connected to their food.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the main goal and vision we had back in Dallas when we started doing this in 2007. And back then it was really cutting edge still, like the local food movement, CSAs, supporting your local farmer. Those were all pretty new at the time. And so it was really cool to kind of be on the front side of that movement. But now I think it's still just as important. I mean, we want to constantly be connecting people back to where their food comes from, and connecting them to the land, and just giving them the time and space to connect to that, to connect to creation. And, we do that through our farm dinners, where we're growing a lot of the ingredients for our dinners, and then they're getting to have that in a multiple course, amazing feast under the stars on the farm. And we're integrating lots of the ingredients that we grew, and honeycomb from our bees that's being carved onto their sourdough. And so there's a lot of ways that we kind of bring all of those facets of the farm together to, just to educate people and connect them. Like that's the main word that keeps coming back. And that's in everything that we do, is really creating connection for people.
And it sounds like you're getting really good results, because like your dinners sounds like they're selling out in a day.
Yeah, our spring dinner, May 6th, will be our next big Kindred dinner. And this is the first time it's sold out in one day. So it's been really amazing. Just, we've never advertised or done any kind of official marketing. It's all been word of mouth, and just creating these, memorable experiences for people. They naturally want to share it with other people and come back again. And every single dinner, we have a pretty good mix of return people and new people, which is awesome.
Very cool. So, let's talk staffing. What kind of crew do you keep, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I would say it has varied, but like right now, we've got obviously the two of us, and then our two girls that help out on the farm with everything from daily chores. We have a little seed starting house where we got a daily. We've been monitoring that over the last couple of months to get all the seeds in the ground, and now we're full-fledged, doing, we have the whole model of, no tilling. We broad fork. We have the BCS, that's
market farming. Yeah.
We market farm. That's our model that we follow. We use landscape fabric for weed barrier. And so we've got 2 girls that work on the farm as well, but it's splitting time. So they work on the farm, but also work on the other aspects of Kindred. So I wouldn't say it's, 100% working, the staff is working the farm, or we're working the farm, because we're doing so many things, right? It's today we've been working and getting everything into the ground, and then tomorrow we've got to get ready for an event, and then Friday we've got to be getting ready for the farm store for Saturday. So it's like everyone's kind of doing multiple different hats.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but for staffing for dinners, we do have a dedicated staff for that, a serving staff and a kitchen staff. So that's a little bit different
than the farm. But on the farm, we've got it's our family, and then we have 2 girls that are awesome,
that are staff.
That are staff, and they also, they're helping with the classes and social media and inventory and everything else you can imagine.
Very cool. So then, and let's talk marketing. What does your marketing look like to make this all happen?
I mean, I would say we've got, marketing is both of our backgrounds. Christine went to Belmont, I went to Baylor University, and we both have marketing degrees. And I would say if there's one thing we've learned and have known really well, even before we got into the space of local organic foods, is marketing. And so our philosophy with marketing is, if you make it look beautiful, taste amazing, and create an awesome experience, then it will naturally work out. So even in the beginning, nobody knew where Santa Fe was. And so we started to get people to come out to the farm store. We just said, why don't you come and visit us, and we'll give you a free cinnamon roll. And so we started off by just saying, come and get free cinnamon rolls. And then in the early days of trying to sell dinners, we begged people, right? We could not sell a ticket because nobody knew who we were. So but we knew the experience was going to be great. So we poured a lot of money and time into the experience, and then we paid good money to bring in awesome photographers to capture how beautiful the night was. And then everyone gets FOMO and sees these beautiful photos and videos, and now everyone wants to come to the dinners. And so we pride ourselves on giving away a lot in the beginning, and making sure everyone has an unbelievable experience. And then we just have a philosophy to surprise and delight always, and go above and beyond. And with just that attitude and spirit, people are always getting way more than they think they should get. And it just creates stories, and it creates kind of this viral feel where people want to tell other people. And when you create a space like that, then the marketing kind of happens on its own, because we put all our money for marketing there, instead of actually paying for like advertising and marketing.
Gotcha. So you created an incredible, superior experience, and people just became your raving fans and told your story for you.
Yeah, if you give people a great story to tell, they will want to share it with their friends, period. And so we just, whether it's the farm store on Saturday morning or 130 people under the stars with cooking everything by fire, we just make sure we give them a great story, and then people naturally want to tell their friends a great story. So I think sometimes as farmers, we forget to connect with people on that level and give them a story to tell. So if we can give them a story to tell, they'll do it for you.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we do intentionally post on social media and use that as a tool. But that's another great word to integrate into that is story, is that the way that we're posting is always trying to communicate the story of the story behind your food, and the story behind the experience, and the connection to the land, and really bringing people into that story through everything that we post on social media. And, we write newsletters to our email list and really pour into that base. And that's, become even more and more valuable as the years have gone on. And we've seen that, an email list is like gold compared to social media, just because you're getting directly to your audience. And so we do put a lot of time into our email newsletter and telling stories through that, and giving them special content, like special recipes, and insider views, and they get, first access to ticket sales before the general public. And with our spring dinner, we sold out the entire dinner just to our email list this time.
Wow.
So it never even made it to Instagram. But I mean, so that's like one of the number one things I would tell any farmer is make sure you're building a solid email list from the beginning, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We just broke 2,000 on our email list, but I realized that we're not cross promoting our email list to our social media because we have like over 7,000 there. But I realized I was like, so we have thousands of people that aren't on our email list.
Yeah.
And we're losing out because we're not getting access to their inbox. So.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think that's where it's, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I think that's where it's great to, do some kind of a lead magnet where you're giving away like free recipes or, a downloadable PDF or some kind of value for them to even sign up and take that extra step,
Yeah, absolutely. So you do a lot of flowers too. And obviously, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do flowers, but you put a lot of them into your pictures too. And I'm assuming that helps create brightness and fun and.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And then you also do like these You Pick Flower Days. Talk about that.
Yes, we love flower farming is like my favorite thing now. It's just been beautiful. I mean, I love growing zinnias, sunflowers, wildflowers. I'm, branching out into some other flowers this year that haven't grown before, just for bouquets to kind of add some different elements to them. And I'm very much still learning, how to farm flowers. But it's been so fun. And I feel like it's just a beautiful way to bring together, everything we're doing as a regenerative farm is creating a healthy space for pollinators. And also it's beautiful for someone to come to the farm and get to like meander through fields of wildflowers. Yeah. So we're thinking of all of those elements and everything that we're planting here is how can it, how can we sell it in a bouquet? How can it also help the ecosystem? And how can it help create an experience? And I think flowers really check all those boxes. Like we've had You Pick, a couple times a season, we'll have a You Pick day at our farm store. We don't do it every Saturday, but it's a really special time when we have that. And it's usually at the end of the season. And it's just awesome. Like just seeing people interact with the flowers. It's different than buying a bouquet. Giving people the opportunity to actually experience them hands-on is like one of my favorite things to see, and to see how everyone puts together something totally different. So we love that. And we've also done You Pick at some of our farm dinners in the past. If the flowers are timed just right and it's good weather, we'll let our guests come and pick flowers before the dinner and take home some flowers. And so that's been really, really cool. And take photos and things like that.
I also think that planting flowers is a simple, inexpensive tool that any farmer could use. If you have anyone coming to your farm, a very, very simple thing. I mean, you could plant one row, 100-foot row that's close to the entrance of where people park and come to wherever you have them come. You can do something as simple as just zinnias, which is very little effort. So easy, very little effort. And it's kind of the curb appeal that you would give people when they come to your farm. It's such an amazing experience. They will instantly, without even having to tell them, they will want to take photos of your farm, and then they will post it, and then they will talk about it. So those are like simple things, and it doesn't require, if you're already doing any other kind of produce farming, it's to transition to planting one simple row of zinnias. The cost and the effort, it would be nothing for you.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree with that. And we do probably like 6 or 8 different types, and I think it's like 8 50-foot beds, and it's just awesome. Yeah, it's just a fun little thing. It takes us about, a morning to get them in the ground, some drip irrigation on them, and then just hand out scissors at the farm stand.
Yeah, that's so perfect.
Yeah. One thing I noticed that you sell tats. Is that something you made custom, and which company does that for you?
Hats?
No, tats. I think like tattoos.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Have you heard of tater tats?
No, I have not.
They're hilarious. We love them. I'm actually wearing one right now of some Swiss chard.
Oh, Swiss chard.
But they're great. They're called tater tats.
Okay.
but yeah, they have these variety packs that you can get. You can order all different kinds of things. You can order like, just fruit tattoos or just vegetables or whatever, but we get the variety boxes. And it's just another fun thing to have at the farm store. Like we're always thinking of like fun things kids can get as well.
Uh-huh.
So getting to get a little fruit or veggie tattoo is a fun thing to do on a farm,
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, and so there's like it's a great little variety pack. It has like all different seasonal vegetables, and they have I think they have a nonprofit element, Tater Tots, as far as they're giving back a portion of their proceeds. So they're a cool company. So definitely look into that.
Oh, I'm on the website now. I'm going to send it to my office manager and say, go crazy.
Yeah.
That's something that people would love for the store. It gives us a little. And then when the kids go to school, they can talk about how they got the vegetable tattoo at the farm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And stickers are always super popular too. I mean, people love stickers. Like they just love putting stickers on their water bottles or whatever. So we're always thinking of new designs for that and launching different ones. We'll be launching some new ones this spring too.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Let's talk about your book. Because that's actually the picture that I saw was the picture of you signing books. What caused you to want to write a book?
Well, I've been a writer for probably over 20 years now. I've done freelance writing. I've written for different blogs and my own blog since 2005. So that's who I am. That's something that I always would be as a writer. But then the opportunity came a couple years ago. I think it was 2019, through a blog post that I wrote on another website, caught the attention of a book editor. And they contacted me and asked me if I would consider writing a book about the way of life that we have here on the farm. And I was like, yes. I always wanted to write a book. And so it just, you hear about it falling in people's laps, and it did, in a way, did fall in my lap, but it was also many, many years of investing into the writing side of my, creativity. And then finally it caught someone's attention. And so, so my book is The Kindred Life. And it launched last spring, so last May. And it's been beautiful. It's part, I like to say it's like part memoir and part inspiration guide for living a life of deeper connection right where you are. So it has 10 recipes, has tons and tons of colorful photos from the farm, and then journaling prompts and questions to kind of make the themes your own. And just woven throughout that is my story. It goes back to, way before we were farmers, way before we even started our urban farm, and even back to like my travels in India and Africa, and just kind of how this kindred way of living came to be for me, and how it's accessible to anybody, no matter where they are. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at the table of contents. And I love how you've woven the different recipes through there. I'm interested in ice cream on the roof though.
I love that chapter. That chapter is about adventure. I had a friend come visit the farm, and we were working outside together. It was a friend from Texas, and it was just a super fun day of like bringing our kids into it. We were like planting things, throwing food to the pigs, and just having a fun day on the farm. And at the end of the day, it was, we're kind of all winding down and having some ice cream. And she was like, hey, didn't you say that you guys sometimes go out on the roof and look at the stars? And I was like, yeah, we've done that. We have like this little overhang over our front porch that we can access through a window, and we go out on the roof sometimes. And she's like, well, have you ever eaten ice cream on the roof? And I was like, no, but we're going to do that right now. And it was just like this next level, beautiful experience. And that whole chapter is just about adding adventure to your everyday life. It doesn't have to be this big, like, huge vacation or, trip to Disney World or like, anything that big. It's the moments that are really memorable is when we can just add these elements of adventure into our everyday lives. Like just the other night, our girls, Venus is so bright in the sky right now, and you can see Mars and Venus at the same time. And our daughters, were like, can we bring our sleeping bags outside and lay under the stars and look at the stars and like drink tea and like we sleep out there for part of the night. And so it was just like this impromptu adventure. So that's kind of what I'm having, like helping people connect to in that particular chapter is just adding those elements into your everyday life. Those, you know, where you can take an ordinary moment and just kind of make it kind of extraordinary. So.
Yeah, it's the little things and the little times you stop and take that moment with the family. So then with your production, are you steering more and more of that production towards your prepared foods, or is your prepared foods driven by what you have extra of your production?
Yeah, no, our big thing with everything that we're producing now is all going towards food, things that we can make, you know. So we'll have some leftover stuff that we'll sell, like the raw tomato or the raw head of lettuce at the farm store. But the vast majority of everything has been kind of earmarked to either be stored for, like, so for example, we will do, I don't know, 200-300 feet of butternut and winter squashes, and then we will store them, and those are used through all the dinners and events from the fall, winter, going all during that time as a storage, as an item. And so then we're either pickling it, fermenting it. One of the big things we do is, you know, we'll grow 700 pounds of Napa cabbage and then make kimchi with all of it. So our goal is to turn it into something. We've finally got ourselves a food dehydrator. So all the peppers, everything like that, we'll dehydrate and it'll go into seasonings, and we'll sell the seasonings. So pretty much 95%, I would say, of everything we're growing it so that we can make something and sell the something.
Or put it into a meal of some sort.
Or put it into an event.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we now do a couple different salad dressings on the farm.
Ooh,
that's awesome.
Nice.
And you know, I always say this, I'm blown away, but people will pay $1 an ounce for salad dressing.
That's amazing.
The amount, you know, if you know how to make something and you enjoy making it, that's kind of been the big discovery we've had, is we love doing this stuff. So for us to focus on it is great. I tell people all the time, when you're getting into farming, is just find the area. There's 100 different lanes for farming. You have to find the lane that you love the most, and then find the best way to make that profitable. And for us, we love cooking, we love hospitality. And you know, for us, the you talk about $1 an ounce, people will pay extra for convenience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though we give them the recipe for the dressing, they still, the amount we go through just blows my mind.
That's awesome. Are you building like your herbs into it? Is it like an olive oil based dressing?
So we do a couple ones. We do a ranch and then a dairy-free ranch, and we do put our own herbs into those that we dry. But then we do a fire cider dressing, which actually is outselling both of them. And that's our own fire cider. And then, it's just an oil based. So,
That's really neat.
Joining me is Ariel from the Real Organic Project. Ariel, welcome.
Thank you.
So Ariel, tell us a little bit about what the Real Organic Project stands for.
Yeah, so the Real Organic Project is a farmer-led nonprofit that manages an add-on certification for certified organic. And the whole idea is we want to give farmers that are doing things the right way within the spirit of the rules a way to differentiate themselves from some of the corporate organic on supermarket shelves that only meets the most cynical definition of something that would actually be organic. So what that means is we're only working with farms that are growing their crops in healthy, biologically active soil as opposed to growing hydroponically. And we're only working with farms that are raising their animals with real access to the outdoor and pastures, as opposed to these confinement operations, which again, unfortunately, are dominating the organic sections of many of our supermarkets. But Michael, I know you're actually interested in potentially pursuing Real Organic Project certification for your farm. Do you want to talk a little bit about why that's of interest to you?
Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of the Real Organic Project because they stand for what I stand for. You know, the feeling about putting the organic back in the ecosystem of the farm. The problem when you have this corporate organic is that it's been watered down to the lowest common denominator. Frequently there's more plastic than plants in some of these systems. Real organic is more about caring about those who care about the soil. And, going back to that original idea of why we farm organically, which is, we want the birds to be singing in the background and the soil to be alive and the earthworms. And when you look at some of these corporate organic, it's just as sterile as the conventional farms that we're competing with.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. And I think what we really want to do is find a way to uplift and differentiate the folks that are genuinely doing things the right way for the right reasons, and not just finding the simplest, easiest way to check a bunch of boxes.
Absolutely. And if folks want to find out more about the Real Organic Project, you can go to realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. That's realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. So talk to us about kind of like the journey over the last, you said 7 years is when you started this new farm?
Yeah.
What, going into it, I think you said you weren't quite sure. So you've had a couple different iterations. How do you know when to pivot? Like, what does that look like for you? Are you constantly sitting down and reevaluating your goals? What does that process look like?
I think the deciding factor on when to pivot is when the numbers aren't working. So, we live and die by the profit, and we ask ourselves, is this profitable? And it is probably, I think farmers struggle because if you're farming, you're doing it because you're passionate about it. And the problem with passion endeavors is you sometimes forget to pay attention to the profits because you're so passionate that the cause happens that you forget to follow the numbers. But the reality is numbers don't lie. Your profits will never lie to how your business is doing. And so we've had to make hard decisions. For example, we have done the multiple seasons of over 100 laying hens and the bobcat kills all of them type of scenario. And you're just struggling to deal with it. And then you finally go, okay, well, we're definitely paying our customers to take these eggs. Like the numbers are telling us that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so at some point we can't, and then there's the classic line of, but it's a loss leader because people will buy the eggs and then they'll want to buy all the other things. But if you actually look at the numbers, it's like, man, they've got to buy a lot of other things before the eggs pay for themselves. So I think the numbers and the profits will tell you when you need to pivot. And I also think asking yourself the question, are you enjoying this and do you love it? Because sometimes farmers will just like die on that sword and they will like take themselves to the nth degree. And it's like they won't stop doing something and pivot because they feel like they have to like grind it out for another 75 hours a week to make $100. And I think those markers have helped us through all the different pivots and changes we've made to find a place where we're profitable. And I don't care what anyone says, when you start to become profitable, that's the best kind of farming.
Because then you can enjoy it. And then, the stress level decreases 20-fold.
Yeah. And
then you can, after you're profitable, do the fun things that you don't have to make money on. I just think that we sometimes as farmers start with the things that don't make money, and then we scramble to pay the bills. And I think we have to focus first on being profitable. And then after you're profitable, do the fun things that don't necessarily make the money.
Absolutely. So what was one fun thing that you didn't think was going to pay the bills, but ended up actually paying the bills?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a great question. I don't think we grasped how big the events, dinners, classes, farm store, just the experiential part. I don't think we even kind of thought it would be that big.
Yeah, and recently we've added classes. And we did tons of classes in Dallas at our farmstead there. We did, knife skills classes, kombucha making, all different things. Sausage making, kimchi probably you did. But we haven't added that into our model here yet. And we've just launched our first few artisan pizza classes
I saw
where they
those
can
pictures.
learn how to make Yeah, they can learn how to make artisan pizza with Steven on our pizza ovens. And it's like exploded. Like they sold out so fast. We could probably add 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
So I think people are really hungry for that. So that's in a way a little bit surprising. And that's something that we want to continue expanding and adding more of, because I think it's something people really want and need right now.
Yeah. What's the price point range for your classes?
Those are $75 a person for the pizza classes, but I guess every class will be different depending.
Yeah, and I think we'll have more advanced or more intensive classes that will get up into the like 150, 200 range.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the $75, it's about a 2-hour class.
Yep, and it's a beginner class. They get to eat pizza the whole time.
Okay.
What else? They learn the basics of making their own dough. They go home with a dough recipe. They went home with a sauce recipe.
Very, very basic. You get the recipes. We have a good time. It's a small group of 16 people, so everyone's getting to know each other.
It was awesome.
And at that level, on a very base level, really what people are wanting is they want to go out and experience and have a fun time, eat something, and they're beyond happy. And I think we'll then do some maybe more advanced level stuff to where it's maybe a little bit longer time frame, way more intensive like learning and like trying to drill down on like very specifics. But for like an entry level class, $75, people really just want to get out and have kind of a small dining experience. They want to eat something. And I think a class like that, it could be a pizza making class, or it could also be like jam making and eating it on sourdough bread. I think farmers could incorporate a base level class on so many levels,
Yeah, and I don't think it even needs to be this like super polished thing. I think people really just want the experience.
Yeah, we did it in the high tunnel. We did it in the greenhouse.
I saw that. Yeah. We're putting up a new 36 by 112 high tunnel, and the first 30 feet are going to be grass. It's going to basically be lawn, and we're going to reserve it for, in the wintertime, we're going to probably put a kiddie pool in there and some deck chairs. But we are going to put shade cloth over it and basically be a space that we can use.
That's a great idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah. The rest of the tunnel will be ginger and turmeric. So that requires shade anyway. So yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's I saw that pizza class. So my wife started doing sourdough classes, and then I do the gardening classes. And so Saturday we were like, well, my class was full, and she was like, well, my class made more money.
That's awesome. Sourdough classes are hugely popular around here. There's lots of different farms offering those.
Yeah, and it's a great way to bring in some serious cash flow, especially I think late winter, early spring, when people are kind of cooped up inside and they just desperately want something to do.
Yeah.
Classes are great because like the overhead, there's just not a lot of cost to it.
Yep.
Yeah. And my wife now has, her specific SOPs for the class. So, okay, at this time I need to do this, And so it's gotten a lot more streamlined. She does have an assistant, which helps her with it, which is, she says is helpful. But right now, because we have very small space, it's happening in our kitchen, which is not ideal because our kitchen's it's pretty small. But yeah. So with that class aspect of things, what have you discovered? Like, is there a magic formula for the class, or you just say, try it and see what people go for?
Well, so we've had a lot of experience with doing classes. Like Christine said, back in Dallas, we did a lot of different classes. I would say the sweet spot on the beginner level is that at the heart of what the person wants, the customer just wants a fun night, or they want a fun afternoon. So I think sometimes as the teacher or the class provider, we're thinking that they've got to walk away being perfect pizza makers or perfect sourdough makers. And really, they're interested in it. But in 2 hours, you can't perfect anything. So really what you need to focus on is them having a really good time. And so having like elements of them getting to do something they've never done, eat something they've never eaten, and interact with people that they wouldn't normally interact with. That creates this fun experience. And then I think focusing so much on, oh my goodness, I have to teach them all the basics of X, Y, and Z in 2 hours. I mean, that's just not happening. They're going to forget most of it. So I just think what the sweet spot is, just focusing a lot of attention on how much fun it's going to be.
So the fun is the key. So that's important in the marketing. And one thing that we've had, and it only happened one time, but we had one person who was probably too advanced for the class and spent the entire time critiquing the technique, which didn't work out too well. But have you had that? And have you had any success with how to handle that?
So even in the pizza class, I literally start out of the gate telling them, so this is beginner levels. We are going to have an advanced class. So I almost set the expectation out of the beginning. Like, this is not advanced. We're not going to drill down into the fermentation techniques of the pizza dough and everything. We're just going to have a good, so like in the beginning, when you set it like that, then you say, tonight it's, well, let's eat some good pizza. Let's have a good time. You guys are going to get to practice doing different things with the dough and how to top and how to use the outdoor ovens. And then if any of you guys are interested, we're going to have advanced classes where you're going to learn very, specific techniques for X, Y, and Z. And that sets a good expectation, right? High expectations lead to much frustration. So if someone comes in thinking that they're going to learn all the fermentation techniques of the pizza dough, and then you don't do it, that makes them highly frustrated. So we try and bring the expectations to the right spot, and then also allow people that are looking for future things. And so I actually even had a couple of people in the first class kind of say, oh, this was so great, and I'm very much looking forward to the advanced class.
Gotcha. Okay. Something I think you said there too would be helpful to up front say, hey, there's a bunch of different ways this can be done. This is the way we do it that I'm going to show you today. So you may have heard differently, but we're not going to really go into that.
Yeah. I mean, I know you know this, but it's like teaching someone how to grow tomatoes. There's 100 ways. And so I think you have to start by saying, this is my way to grow tomatoes. And everyone has their trick, their way, how they trellis, how they prune, how they amend, everyone has their way. And so, I say that like when I'm teaching a knife skills class and like how to cut an onion, everyone cuts an onion differently. Here's how I cut the onion,
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think it helps to set those expectations on the front end, even before the class, like that goes into your marketing of the class itself.
Yeah.
And the ticket page and everything. Like, I'm really thinking through all those details when we're setting up something, is communicating those things on the front end in your marketing of what's the class going to be like, having a very clear like FAQ that people can read through, things like that. But yeah, I think you're right. If you make it more of an experiential thing, you'll probably have less of that than if you set it up as like, this is a technical class, then it's kind of opening it up for a little bit more of that critique. And you might just get that. Sometimes just you get people that do things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just part of it.
Yeah. That and the person that just wants to explain everything in great detail. So is the
But I think that's rare. I think that's rare. I think if you set it up the right way, you're just going to get people that want to learn and they want to have fun and they want to be on the farm, and that's what you can offer them.
Very cool. What advice would you have for people that are just starting to dip their toes into farming?
I mean, my biggest, if there was one thing we could change from the beginning, is I actually wish we would have saved up a little bit more money and been able to not have to piecemeal every single thing together. Like that was a struggling thing. I almost wish we would have figured out how to have regular jobs and save some more and then go in, versus start farming, not have enough money, piece it all together, then realize you don't have money, so you have to go get jobs. Like I wish we would have done it the other way, because so much in, like, I would honestly say the first 3 years, you just don't know what you don't know, and you don't know your land yet, and you don't know, there's so many variables. That's the most, like, I don't want to say depressing thing, but it's the most defeating thing about farming, is there are so many variables that change all the time. And it's just, even if you read all the books and all the videos, it just takes time before you figure all those things out. And so we piecemealed a lot of things together. And still to this day, we're fighting like, why did we build the barn that way? Or why did we do irrigation that way? Or why didn't we we're constantly, the way we spaced out rows in the field, and there are so many things in the beginning. We were just like,
yeah, we did not know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the other thing I would say that we've talked about a lot is I think a lot of farmers are super excited at the beginning, and they have this huge list of things they want to do. Like they're going to do flowers and produce, and they're going to have events, and they're going to have pick, and they're going to have animals. And it's like if you start out with that list of all those things you're going to do at the beginning, it is going to be really hard to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, Joel Salatin told me, like, there's very few people who do animal husbandry and produce farming because of how different they are and how difficult they are. And then, of course, I like an idiot, was like, well, we can do both of them. And man, it is just, it's not. It's like, it's just two completely different things. And I think if I could have changed something, I wish in the beginning we would have just focused on produce and then nailed it down. And then 4 years in, we say, let's try some chickens. But instead, we tried literally everything.
And I think because people have this like romantic view of farming at the beginning, and they want their land to feel like a farm, like you want to have the animals and the flowers and the produce and all of that together. But it just takes time to really learn what you're doing first. And it's really, really challenging if you try to do everything from the beginning. So we've just, over the years learned, like Stephen said earlier, what our lane is, and just doing a few things really, really, really well, rather than trying to do everything.
Yeah, I think that is the number. I think that's a huge thing that so many people do not realize. And the other thing is like, even like growing like 30 or 40 different vegetables. I mean, and back in New York, we grew, gosh, I think we're about 50 or 60 easily, because we're doing everything from arugula to zucchini.
Yeah.
But if you look at a lot of commercial large scale farms, they do just a couple crops typically.
Yep.
And
they do a couple things well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So even in that, I mean, much less trying to do animals, and then animals, you're doing ducks and goats and some cows. And then you're doing some flowers and some vegetables. We're pretty diverse here. We actually are this year doing some medicinal herbs for some salves and that sort of thing, which probably was too much to bite off. But yeah, we're biting off way too much this year. But
we get that too.
Yes, there's just so many opportunities.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, a lot of it is really fun. Like it's fun to want to add medicinal herbs, and but I think that it's true. Like if you add too much at the beginning, then that makes it even harder to succeed.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I will say that our first year of farming, I think we grew like 40 something different varieties of vegetables. And the thing that it did help us do was hone in on like, what did we enjoy growing and what works well here. And it kind of helped us eliminate things that didn't work. So I will say that was helpful. I mean, we don't even attempt to grow, half the things that we grew our first year.
Correct. Yeah. So sometimes, and, I would say at that point, you keep your day jobs, and the first year or two, just go crazy, grow a whole bunch of stuff, see what you like, see what you don't. And it's an experimentation. Or you can choose to save a whole bunch of money, quit your day jobs, and maybe only start with what you can make money on. But I think the slowly easing into it with keeping your day jobs and keeping the low stress, because a huge stressor is money. And if you don't have that good cash flow coming in, you're going to freak out and you can cause all sorts of challenges.
Yep. And farming is so physically taxing that it adds that element of stress too, And so you're adding that, you're just so tired and it's so hard.
Yes.
Probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life. And then you're adding financial stressors. So yeah, that's a hard combination.
Absolutely. Well, what is your favorite tools on the farm?
So we both love the Homey tool, which is a Korean hand tool.
Okay.
Yeah, I plant everything with the Homey. Everything I hand plant, I use that.
Okay. And where can you buy that?
Gosh, does Johnny sell it?
I want to say Johnny's has a version. It's like a little hand tool that it kind of has like
wooden handle,
a triangular spade looking end, but it's like really curved. Some people are probably familiar with like the Cobra tool, but a homie tool is the same kind of shape, but in the Cobra tool has like maybe a small little 1 to 2 inch little end, where the homie tool has like it's
like 6-inch blade.
6-inch blade that's a big triangle, like leaf looking.
Yeah.
It's a Korean. So we got his mom, Steven's mom is from South Korea, and she I think she got them in South Korea.
Yeah.
But you can buy them here. I think Johnny sells them, but it's my absolute favorite tool for hand planting. It's perfect for planting in the landscape fabric holes, because you can just like get this perfect deep hole, and then you can pull it back, put the plant in, and I just love it.
It's like a really sharp dibbler, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I love, I've always loved the BCS. I couldn't imagine doing most of what we do without a BCS and all the implements. And then I would say the last 2 seasons we've used the tilther, and that's been a game changer on how we prep beds, and we love that.
I love the tilther.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in Johnny's catalog, but the problem is they just have so much that half of it doesn't sometimes make.
I would say people could Google.
Yeah, just
if you Googled Korean hand tool, that little garden spade looking tool will come up, and there's a lot of versions. There's like skinny blades. There's thicker ones. There's all different kinds.
I like the thin, narrow one. That's my favorite. I use that for everything pretty much.
Yeah, actually, if you Google Korean hand tool brands, and the top it gives you like 3 different versions. They call it hand plow, homie. Yep, and that's spelled HO-MI.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really great for weeding as well. I've even pulled up sod grass with it. And it was the only thing that could pull up the sod, because it gets so deep under there, and the blade is so sharp that I don't know. There's so many things you can use. Yeah. It's like hacked away at like crazy, monkey grass.
My favorite thing to do with the homie tool is to remove staples from the landscape fabric.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because you know how sometimes if that staple has been in there all season, you know how impossible it is to get out of there. So the tip of the homie tool will go right in, and then almost like you're removing a nail with a hammer, you just leverage back, and that thing pops right out. It will change, because trying to get that without ripping landscape fabric out, it's like such a nightmare.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm on Amazon ordering some of these, because actually they're on Amazon too.
You should.
And I can see how that would be great for transplanting. And yeah. And I do agree with you. The BCS is on another level. We would actually at the point where we're ready to ditch our big 5-foot tiller and just move back to a BCS.
Yeah, it's great. And I love that like anybody that works on the farm can use it and manage it as well.
Yes, way safer than the previous. We had an old Goldoni, which we got 2004. There's no safeties at all, features at all, pretty much.
Oh dear.
I'm the only guy that can use it, and I literally have, I've almost killed myself with that thing. So, but it does till. But yeah, the BCS and the depth control tiller on the back there, that works really well. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I actually have, I'm sure, a team out there that are asking what to do. So I better get back outside too. But I appreciate your time today. It was fabulous to have you both on the podcast. And thanks so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having us, Michael.
So much.
It was awesome.
All right. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Real Organic Project is a farmer-led movement that provides an add-on certification held by over 1,000 certified organic, family-owned operations across North America. Real Organic Project strives to uplift farms working within the spirit, not just the letter, of organic principles. Real Organic certified farmers use practices that are centered around the foundational organic principles of soil-based crop production and pasture-based livestock agriculture. To remain accessible to all types of farmers, Real Organic Project fundraises year-round to keep this certification available at no cost to farmers. You can apply today at realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. That is realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer.
The current application season ends soon, so be sure to apply today. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.